Yasodā-nandana Yamuna Tira Banachari Yamuna Tira Banachari Jaya Radha Madhava Punya Bihari Gopijana Vallabha Girivaradhari Gopijana Vallabha Girivaradhari Yasodā-nandana Dāsa Yasodā-nandana Yamuna Tira Banachari Yamuna Tira Banachari Jaya Radha Madhava Punya Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Punya Bihari Jaya
Jai. Jai.
Shri Radha Krishna Bhogavna Sam Radha Vrindavan Dham ki jai, Navadvip Dham ki jai, Ganga Mai ki jai, Jamuna Mai ki jai, Madhu Dwarka Dham ki jai, Swami Bhaktivedanta ki jai, all glory to the all glory to the Thank you very much.
This time I'd like to turn the class over to Viśvakarmā Prabhu to do the introduction. And just one quick announcement. Madhukanta Prabhu is in the hospital and he has pneumonia. And I've been keeping in touch with him through text messages because he's not able to talk clearly. But he is on antibiotics. I'll let everybody know an update with him as it becomes available.
Thank you very much, Ram Raghava, for that announcement. We really appreciate Madhukanta's efforts in taking up Krishna consciousness very seriously, especially with his health conditions. Because as we know, every day people are suffering all kinds of difficulties due to physical and mental health. Both these things are characteristic of the age of Kali. And in this iron age of Kali, people are always disturbed. They're unlucky. Prabhupada explains that the material situation here in this world is very precarious for all of us. And before we start the class with Yaśodā-nandana Prabhu, I wanted to say that the use of our time is really the essence of our daily regimen. I know many of us are busy with schedules that require our time for earning money, because everyone needs Lakshmi Devi to survive in this world. Without Lakshmi Devi, very difficult to eat or protect yourself from the elements. So that's understood. But the most important use of our time is to hear and chant about the glories of Krishna. This is the essence of why we're born. And the purpose of our life is to elevate our consciousness to a transcendental platform of true understanding. And so this group, the Prabhupada Disciples Association, is focused primarily on that purpose, to promote the hearing and chanting of the pastimes of Krishna. That is our main focus. All of you are aware, or may not be aware, on the internet these days, if you follow it, there's all kinds of information coming out on situations in organizations that exist that are going through trauma, that are going through difficulty. There's so much information about people falling down, creating atrocities. That it's okay for us to be aware of these things. Yes, it's not a mistake to study what's going on, but we shouldn't do it at the expense of our focus on Krishna, Krishna's pastimes, Lord Chaitanya, Lord Chaitanya's pastimes, on Prabhupada pastimes. All these things are our primary focus. You know, just like our focus, Ram Raghava, is on Prabhupada as Diksha Guru in his Vani incarnation, that we're trying to encourage people to become disciples of Srila Prabhupada, to take up the mission of Lord Chaitanya, to march on the path of liberation, of spiritual emancipation, back home, back to Godhead. This is what this is about. So I want to thank everybody for attending the class on a regular basis, Wednesdays at 8 a.m. or 8 p.m., excuse me, and on Saturday and Sunday at 10 a.m. These are 3 classes that I know many of us are hooked on. We really love to get this association, and let's continue to proliferate the message of Lord Chaitanya and Srila Prabhupada, so other people within our network can also take up this wonderful process with us and go back home, back to Godhead. So we'll start the class with Yaśodā-nandana Prabhu. All glories to Srila Prabhupada, everyone.
Om Ajnana Timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Dadati Svapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahaguna Raghunatan Anvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahaguna Lalita Shri Viśvakanvitam Scham E Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpati Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vanchakalpa Tarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavibhyo Namo Namam Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrindam Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Today we'll be reading from Bhagavad-gītā As It Is, original, non-adulterated, non-edited version, 1972 Macmillan edition. All purports, translations, synonyms, and commentaries by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupāda, Founder-Ācārya of the International Society for Krishna Consciousness, also known as the Krishna Consciousness Movement. We're reading from chapter 7, text number 1, page 361. Sri Bhagavan Uvacha Maya Shaktamanaha Partha Yogam Yunjan Madasrayaha Asamshayam Samagram Mam Yatagnyasya Sitathrunu. Sri Bhagavan Uvacha, the Supreme Lord said, Mayi, unto me, Asakta Manaha, mind attached, Partha, O son of Prita, Yogam, self-realization, Yunjan, so practicing, Mat Asrayaha, in consciousness of me, Krishna consciousness, Asamshayam, without doubt, Samagram, completely, Mam, unto me, Yata, as much as, Nyasyasi, you can know, Tat, that, Shrinu, try to hear. Translation by Srila Prabhupada. Now hear, O son of Prita, Arjuna, how by practicing yoga in full consciousness of me, with mind attached to me, you can know me in full, free from doubt. Purport by His Divine Grace Srila Prabhupada. In this 7th chapter of Bhagavad-gītā, the nature of Krishna consciousness is fully described. Krishna is full in all opulences, and how he manifests such opulences is described herein. Also, 4 kinds of fortunate people who become attached to Krishna, and 4 kinds of unfortunate people who never take to Krishna are described in this chapter. In the first 6 chapters of Bhagavad-gītā, the living entity has been described as non-material spirit soul, which is capable of elevating himself to self-realization by different types of yogas. At the end of the 6th chapter, it has been clearly stated that the steady concentration of the mind upon Krishna, or in other words, Krishna consciousness, is the highest form of all yoga. By concentrating one's mind upon Krishna, one is able to know the absolute truth completely, but not otherwise. Impersonal Brahma Jyoti or localized Paramatma realization is not perfect knowledge of the absolute truth because it is partial. Full and scientific knowledge is Krishna, and everything is revealed to the person in Krishna consciousness. In complete Krishna consciousness, one knows that Krishna is ultimate knowledge beyond any doubts. Different types of yoga are only stepping stones on the path of Krishna consciousness. One who takes directly to Krishna consciousness automatically knows about Brahma Jyoti and Paramatma in full. By practice of Krishna consciousness yoga, one can know everything in full, namely the absolute truth, the living entities, the material nature, and their manifestations with paraphernalia. One should therefore begin yoga practice as directed in the last verse of the 6th chapter. Concentration of the mind upon Krishna, the Supreme, is made possible by prescribed devotional service in 9 different forms, of which Shravanam is the first and most important. The Lord therefore says to Arjuna, Tat Shrunu, or hear from me. No one can be a greater authority than Krishna, and therefore by hearing from him, one receives the greatest opportunity for progress in Krishna consciousness. One has therefore to learn from Krishna directly or from a pure devotee of Krishna, and not from a non-devotee upstart puffed up with academic education. In the Srimad Bhagavatam, this process of understanding Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the Absolute Truth, is described in the 2nd chapter of the 1st canto as follows. Srinvatam Svakatam Krishna Punya Shravana Kirtana Ridantyasto Yabhadrani Vidunuti Surit Satam Nashtaprayeshu Babadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naistiki Tadarajastamo Bhava Kamalo Bhadayaschaye Chetayetera Vidham Stitam Satve Prasidati Evam Prasanna Manasu Bhagavad Bhakti Yogataha Bhagavad Tattva Vijnanam Mukta Sangasya Jayate Vidyate Hridaya Grantis Chidhyante Sarva Samshayaha Kshiyante Chasya Karmani Drishta Evatmanishwari. To hear about Krishna from Vedic literatures or to hear from him directly through the Bhagavad-gītā is itself righteous activity. And for one who hears about Krishna, Lord Krishna, who is dwelling in everyone's heart, act as a best-wishing friend and purifies the devotee who constantly engage in hearing of him. In this way, a devotee naturally develops his dormant transcendental knowledge. As he hears more about Krishna from the Bhagavatam and from the devotees, he becomes fixed in the devotional service of the Lord. By development of devotional service, one becomes freed from the modes of passion and ignorance, and thus material lust and avarice are diminished. When these impurities are wiped away, the candidate remains steady in his position of pure goodness, becomes enlivened by devotional service, and understands the science of God perfectly. Thus, Bhakti Yoga severs the hard knot of material affection and enables one to come at once to the stage of asamshayam samagram, understanding of the supreme absolute truth, personality of Godhead. Bhagavatam 1:2-17-21. Therefore, only by hearing from Krishna or from his devotee in Krishna consciousness can one understand the science of Krishna. Om Ajnana Timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshuranmiritam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. I offer my respectful obeisances, our respectful obeisances, unto our spiritual master, Srila Prabhupada, who has opened my eyes, our eyes, from the darkness of ignorance with the torchlight of transcendental knowledge. Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Namini Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharini Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarini Bhagavad Vandanam Khadyam Guru Vandana Purvakam Kshiram Sharkara Yuktam Kadatehi Visheshataham Bhakti Siddhanta Shishyaya Bhaktivedanta Namine Prasannaya Prasantaya Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Sri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrindam Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So this is a very important verse, an explanation by Srila Prabhupada. Prabhupada is given here the summary of the whole Bhakti Yoga process. After summarizing what took place in the first 6 chapters of the Bhagavad-gītā, Prabhupada is explaining, for example, in the first paragraph, different types of yoga are only stepping stones on the path of Krishna consciousness. One who takes directly to Krishna consciousness automatically knows about Brahma Jyoti and Paramatma in full. By practice of Krishna consciousness yoga, one can know everything in full, namely the absolute truth, the living entities, the material nature, and their manifestations with paraphernalia. So this is a very important point, because it is a natural tendency of intelligent and inquisitive persons to try to find out, who am I? Where do I come from? Where am I going? Who is God? How this world was created? What is in higher planets or other planets? Why are there so many differences of different living entities? There was one conversation with Srila Prabhupada with some disciples where they're discussing about Christianity, where they say, well, we don't believe in reincarnation. And Prabhupada's reply was, you may believe or not believe, but you also believe there will be life after death. Because in your belief, you say somebody will either go to heaven or to hell. So ultimately, you do believe that there is such another thing as another birth. So if you don't believe in reincarnation, how do you explain all the different varieties of living entities? We see such amazing variety of different living situations, even in human society. Some people are born very intelligent. Some people are born less intelligent. Some people are born stupid. Some people are born, they're very beautiful. Some people are born not so beautiful. Some people are born downright ugly. Some people are born in very rich family. Some people are born in very poor family. Some people are born white, black, yellow, so many different situations. So how does one explain that situation? I had a personal experience in 1993 in Visalia, California, in Central California, where one relative was taking some medical advice from a psychiatrist. And this psychiatrist had a very young son, maybe 1 or 2 years old, who died very suddenly. And he was discussing how this individual boy had never done anything to anybody. He had just lived in his parents' house very peacefully, not harmed anybody, not engaged in any fights with anybody. And all of a sudden he died. And the psychiatrist came to the conclusion that the only reason I can explain this, there must be a law of karma, or the law of action and reaction, of cause and effect. Intelligent people understand. One of the first lessons in the Bhagavad-gītā, Krishna explains, Dehinosmin yata dehi kaumaram yobanam jara, tata dehantara praptir. That after one goes from youth to boyhood to old age, then tata dehantara praptir. Dehantara means at the end of this, at death, one will get another body. Dhirastatranamuyati, one who is a dhira, or self-controlled, sober person. He's not disturbed by such a change. And Bhagavad-gītā teaches us, why are there so many differences? Karanam gunasangasya sadasad yunijanmasu. Karanam means the cause. Sadasad, that means auspicious and inauspicious situations. That this sangha, triguna, the association with the three modes of nature. That's why we see in this Bhagavad-gītā, there are several chapters dedicated with detailed description of the different modes of nature and what happens if one associates with the mode of passion and ignorance. There are consequences. There are very severe consequences. But because people in this age are adhira or non-dhira, non-sober, therefore they do not understand. Prabhupada often complained how he had discussion with a very big professor. And the big professor did not understand that at the end of this life, everything is not finished, but you get another birth according to your mental situation, according to your karma. The big professor, so after this life, everything is finished. And Prabhupada tried to explain to him, nothing is finished. It goes on. So how to solve that situation? Because one does not know, just like in one conversation, Srila Prabhupada says you have to be very careful. You may desire to be born in a certain body, but there's no guarantee that you will get the body that you want. Even as a devotee, one may be born in an animal birth, as we saw in the story of King Bharat, or one may go to the heavenly planets, or one may be born again, or one may go back to Godhead. It depends on the level of consciousness. And that level of consciousness will be judged for the final exam at the time of death. What will be the consciousness? One cannot just assume that I'm a devotee and therefore automatically I'll go back to Godhead. Yes, technically you can, but you have to be thinking of Krishna. In order to be thinking of Krishna, you have to practice. You have to follow the instruction of the pure devotee of Krishna. And this is what the greatness of this particular verse, Srila Prabhupada is giving these various verses from the Srimad Bhagavatam, where he explains the entire process of bhakti yoga. For those of you who know, Prabhupada used to often quote that verse, Ado Shraddha Tata Sadhu Sangha, that in the beginning there is faith, then association with devotees, Ata Bhajana Kriya, then one associates with devotees, eventually takes initiation, practices the devotional service, Anartha Nivritti. If you look at this sequence of verse on page 363, it is the same description. Because sometimes devotees will ask, well, why is it that I practice for some time and I'm not seeing so many results? Well, this is the explanation here. This is the systematic process. If you look at the third verse, it says, Tadarajastamo bhavaha kamalobhadayaschaye chitayate sitam satve prasidati. And it says, by development of devotional service, one becomes freed from the modes of passion and ignorance, and thus material lust and avarice are diminished. When these pure impurities are wiped away, the candidate remains steady in his position of pure goodness, becomes enlivened by devotional service, and understands the science of God perfectly. It's a very important point, because we see Prabhupada explains in the third paragraph on page 362 that the process of hearing is the most important process. Concentration of the mind upon Krishna, the Supreme, is made possible by prescribed devotional service in 9 different forms, of which Shravanam is the first and most important. The Lord therefore says to Arjuna, Tat Shrunu, hear from me. No one can be a greater authority than Krishna. Therefore, by hearing from him, one receives the greatest opportunity for progress in Krishna consciousness. The path has already been chalked out. It is not very complicated. It is not very difficult. Actually, Srila Prabhupada made the path very simple. Very simple. Not very difficult. Simply one has to hear. Prabhupada has given these various books, so many different recordings of chanting, recordings of japa. If one wants to go further, there are so many lectures of Srila Prabhupada from Srimad Bhagavatam, Srimad Bhagavad-gītā. So everything is given. Simply one has to be developed some time to hear. Just like when I was in Toronto, Canada, one devotee asked me, well, how do you get time to hear? I explained, Prabhupada has given so many different instances, in so many different, you have to mold your life in such a way that you develop the time to hear about Krishna. It's very simple. Everybody has the time to do summoning, to work, to listen to radio, do this, do that, so many activities. Spend time with the family, drive here, drive there. Simply one should use this modern technology to our advantage. It is not very difficult. You can use the MP3, the tape recorder, that YouTube. Like every day when I get up, I put this YouTube chanting of Prabhupada. First, I do some obeisance to Prabhupada, Lord Chaitanya, Lord Krishna, our disciplic succession. Then I put this tape. It's Prabhupada chanting the Maha Mantra. And we hear his divine grace, and our consciousness will think of Krishna. We'll think of the pure devotee of Krishna. There's no big mystery. It's not that somebody is special or has a special advantage. No, that mercy is given to everybody, every living entity. We see in the second canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, how Prabhupada explained in one place how the name of Krishna, the holy name of the Lord, is so powerful that even the animals, the birds, the bees, the reptiles, everybody benefits by the name of Krishna. Everybody knows, Prabhupada was often asked a question, well, there's a lot of people who make joke. They make fun of the Hare Krishnas. They make fun of devotees. Prabhupada said they also benefit. They also benefit. Prabhupada often told the story how his Guru Maharaj, His Divine Grace, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur Prabhupada, used to request his disciples to write about Krishna. And he used to ask them, how many times have they repeated the word Krishna in the article? He used to say, if they repeat so many times, that is very good article. So simply we have to develop this attachment to hear about Krishna. Everybody has heard that verse from the Padma Purana. Atasya Krishna namadi na bhavet grayam indriyai sevanmukhe jivado swayameva spuratyada. That to understand Krishna, we cannot understand Krishna to these contaminated senses. So how do we do it? Na bhavet indriya, with these indriyas, with these senses, contaminated senses, it's not possible. Sivanmukhe jivado. One begins by utilizing the tongue, by reciting, by vibrating the name of Krishna, and only tasting Krishna Prasadam. One devotee one time asked me, why do you often criticize other devotees about the way they offer the bhoga, the prasadam? Why do you do that? I said, well, it's not so much why I do it. It's because it should be done the proper way. There's no big mystery here. There's a bona fide way and there's a non-bona fide way. There's a proper way and there's an improper way. And the proper way is to follow the instruction of the Acharya. It's not very complicated. It's not very difficult. But if one thinks he can invent or manufacture new ways of following the Acharya, it will be big trouble. One may think he's taking prasadam. He may be eating something else altogether. Very simple, not very complicated. The foodstuff becomes prasadam by offering it according to the instruction of the pure devotee of Krishna. The pure devotee of Krishna gives all necessary information how to become a pure devotee. But if one manufactures or invents new ways or whimsical ways, it'll be a big problem. We see this in so many ways. I often give this example, and I keep giving it. We're seeing a very dangerous phenomena taking place. The tendency of devotees to invent their own mantras. And people may say, well, what is that? Well, we know the Maha Mantra. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. This was given by Lord Krishna, by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in this epic succession. But some devotees are not satisfied with this mantra. Prabhupada has also given the Pancha Tattva Maha Mantra, Sri Krishna Chaitanya, Prabhu Nityananda, Sri Advaita Gadadhar, Sri Vasari Gaur Bhakta Vrinda. Prabhupada said these are authorized mantra for the practice and the preaching of Krishna consciousness. But now we have a new phenomena sprouting up. Some insidious Sahajya concoction. People inventing new mantras. It's like, it sounds like a bunch of gypsies who got together and in their collective geniuses, they've invented something else because it's melodious. The women are dancing. The brahmacharis are jumping up and down. Oh, nice and good. What is that mantra? In Bombay, they've invented a mantra. Radhe Krishna, Radhe Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Radhe. Where is that from? Who gave that? Did Prabhupada give that mantra? Did Srila Prabhupada ever describe you should be chanting that mantra? Another mantra I have seen in Russia and in Vrindavan and Benares, other temples. Jai Radhe, Jai Radhe, Jai Sri Krishna, Bolo Radhe. So who gave that mantra? Sampradaya vihinaye mantraste nishpalamataha. These kind of concocted mantras will have no effect. And people may say, well, who are you, Yaśodā-nandana Dāsa? Who are you to speak like that? It's not me. It's from the Padma Purana. Srila Prabhupada used to quote. So you have become so advanced, you have become so learned, you have become so expert in bhakti that you can manufacture your own mantras now? Who are you? Shruti Sriti Purana Adi. Prabhupada describes often this verse from the Nectar of Devotion, Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. Shruti Sriti Puranadi Pancharatri Vidim Vina Ekantiki Hare Bhaktir Utpatayeva Kalpate. That if one practices devotional service without reference to the Shruti, the Smritis, and the Puranas, then simply it will be Utpatayeva Kalpate. It will be a chaos. We create a disturbance in human society and a disturbance in the devotional society. So devotees should be aware of these tendencies. We have no enmity. We have no fight with any individual devotees. That is not our position. Our position is simply to try to follow the previous Acharya, Srila Prabhupada. According to us, our realization, Prabhupada is the current Acharya. He's not dead and gone. I've often quoted this lecture from Srila Prabhupada that Prabhupada gave in 1975 in Atlanta, Georgia, where Srila Prabhupada was explaining on the disappearance day of his Guru Maharaj, His Divine Grace Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur. Prabhupada said, it is not that he's dead and gone. That is not spiritual understanding. Unfortunately, many devotees seem to have forgotten this basic principle. That's why they're inventing new mantras, new practices, new foolish ideas. So devotees we should simply try to follow the path that has been given by Srila Prabhupada and the previous acharyas. Now, I don't want to take too much time. I realize I've already spoken beyond my allotted time. We'll open the situation for discussion, questions, remarks, admonitions, chastisements. Yes, Viśvakarmā Prabhu. Hare Krishna.
Thank you very much. I wanted to refer again to the purport where Prabhupada says to hear about Krishna from Vedic literatures or to hear from him directly through the Bhagavad-gītā is itself righteous activity. And for one who hears about Krishna, Lord Krishna, who is dwelling in everyone's heart, acts as a best wishing friend and purifies the devotee who constantly engages in hearing of him. So here is the essence of how to make advancement in Krishna consciousness in the Kali Yuga. As he hears more about Krishna from the Bhagavatam and from the devotees like we are in these classes, he becomes fixed in the devotional service of the Lord. In other words, the hearing leads you to take action to spread Krishna consciousness or to serve Krishna in some particular way. By development of devotional service, one becomes freed from the modes of passion and ignorance, and thus material lust and avarice are diminished. So these are two stumbling blocks on the path of devotional service: lust and greed. And so this is, as Yaśodā-nandana Prabhu nicely explained, in this purport, Prabhupada has given us the essence of the philosophy in one purport. Now, I wanted to, it just so happens that I'm reading forward in the Chaitanya Charitamrita. The Lord travels to the holy places in Madhya Lila 9, text 95. And it coincidentally is dealing specifically with this statement about hearing the scriptures from the pure devotee and the benefit it has. And I thought it would be relevant to the class today. In the holy place of Ranga Kshetra, a Brahmin Vaishnava used to visit the temple daily and recite the entire text of Bhagavad-gītā. The Brahmin regularly read the 18 chapters of Bhagavad-gītā in great transcendental ecstasy. But because he could not pronounce the words correctly, people used to joke about him. Due to his incorrect pronunciation, people sometimes criticized him and laughed at him, but he did not care. He was full of ecstasy due to reading Bhagavad-gītā and was personally very happy. While reading the book, the Brahmin experienced transcendental bodily transformations. His hair stood on end, tears welled in his eyes, and his body trembled and perspired as he read. Seeing this, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu became very happy. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. Although the Brahmin could not pronounce the words very well due to illiteracy, he still experienced ecstatic symptoms while reading Bhagavad-gītā. So here is a mystery is revealed. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was very pleased to observe these symptoms. And this indicates that the Supreme Personality of Godhead is pleased by devotion, not by erudite scholarship. Even though the words were imperfectly pronounced, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Lord Krishna himself, did not think this very serious. Rather, the Lord was pleased, and here is the essence of this, by the bhava, the devotion. In Srimad Bhagavatam, this is confirmed. Tadvag vishargo, janataga viplavo, yasman prati shlokam, abadvati api, namami, antashayasho nikantiyat, sarvanti gayanti, vrinanti sadhava. Prabhupada. On the other hand, the literature which is full of descriptions of the transcendental glories of the name, form, and pastimes of the unlimited Supreme Lord is a different creation. It's a transcendental experience, full of transcendental words directed towards bringing about a revolution in the impious lives of the world's misdirected civilization. So here's the real peace formula. Such transcendental literatures, even though imperfectly composed, are heard, sung, and accepted by purified men who are thoroughly honest. The purport of this verse may be considered for further information on this subject. So here further, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu asked the Brahmin, "My dear sir, why are you in such ecstatic love? Which portion of the Bhagavad-gītā gives you such transcendental pleasure?" And the Brahmin replied, "I am illiterate and therefore do not know the meaning of the words. Sometimes I read Bhagavad-gītā correctly and sometimes incorrectly, but in any case, I'm doing this in compliance with the orders of my spiritual master." So this is a good example of those that have become successful in spiritual life, even though they're reading incorrectly. So just to finish up here, it's the commitment to this process by our group and the proliferation of this process through our classes and through our association, that this Krishna consciousness will affect others in a positive way. I was thinking about one of my godbrothers who is a good friend of mine, and I've known him for 45 years. Does he come to the class? No. I've invited him every week. No. Is he interested in associating with devotees? No. Am I interested in calling him up anymore after calling him 100 times? no. So, we have to realize that this process of Krishna consciousness is something that has to come from within your personal motivation to make some advancement and to take up the association of devotees. This is not a class for gossip. This is not a class for wasting time with all kinds of problems that are going on in the material world and in the spiritual societies that we're familiar with. This is a class for us to learn this process of Krishna consciousness seriously in the association of others. Yaśodā, please.
This is a very important point because we see that Srila Prabhupada during his manifest as president, every day he held a Srimad Bhagavatam class in the morning, evening, Bhagavad-gītā class. So if somebody in our position is trying to practice bhakti yoga, it means we have to develop an affinity. We have to develop seriousness for hearing about Krishna. I just want to read a lecture from Srila Prabhupada that he gave on the same verse in San Francisco in March 26, 1968. Prabhupada is discussing, he's quoting the verse, Maya Shakta Manaha Parta Yogam Yunjan Madashraya Asamshayam Samagram Mam Yatagnyasyasit Srunu. So Krishna is describing personally, Krishna's name is Yogeshvara, and Lord Shiva's name is Yogeshvara. Yogeshvara means yoga, the connecting link between the soul and the super soul, or the supreme and the minute living creatures. That is called yoga, connecting. So who is the supreme personality of Godhead? Yogeshvara. The ultimate object of yoga is Krishna. Therefore, Krishna's name is Yogeshvara. Yatra Yogeshvara Harihi. At the conclusion of the Bhagavad-gītā, it is said by Sanjaya, Yatra Yogeshvara Harihi. The place where Yogeshvara, the supreme master of all yoga systems, Krishna is there. And Yatra Parto Dhananjaya. Where there is Arjuna, the greatest fighter, there's undoubtedly victory there. Prabhupada later on says, anyway, so the conclusion made by Sanjaya was this, Yatra Yogeshvara Harihi. Hari means the supreme personality of Godhead, the side in which the Yogeshvara Krishna. My point is that Krishna's name is Yogeshvara. Nobody can be a yogi then, or the master of yoga. There are different systems of yoga, and Krishna is the master of yoga. And Lord Shiva is called Yogeshvara. There are many different kinds of yogis. Yoga means the system, and the yogi means the person who practices the system. So the object of yoga, ultimate goal of yoga, is to understand Krishna. Therefore, Krishna consciousness means to practice the topmost type of yoga system. So this yoga system is being described by Krishna himself. Why? Because he was teaching his most intimate friend Arjuna. Vyakyatya lakshane svopasye maya shakta imatra nitaram mano yasya saha. Now in the beginning, the Lord says that this system of yoga can be practiced by persons who have developed attachment for me. This attachment I have described for the last 3-4 days in a different way. So this yoga system cannot be practiced by an ordinary man who has no attachment for Krishna. This is a different system and the topmost. Tvaranyo va tadrisho madasrayo madasya sakyadi ekatamena bhavena. There are 5 different kinds of direct ashakti. Ashakti means attachment. And there are 7 kinds of indirect attachment. Indirect attachment is not bhakti, but direct attachment is called bhakti. In this way, Srila Prabhupada goes on for many, many pages describing this same verse. Incidentally, this book is called Collected Lectures on Bhagavad-gītā As It Is, which was published by the Bhaktivedanta Archives, and it publishes the entire Bhagavad-gītā and numerous lectures by His Divine Grace Srila Prabhupada, where he gives all different explanations on every verse of Bhagavad-gītā. We have the Bhagavad-gītā in its purport, but there are numerous other lectures that His Divine Grace gave. I believe the Bhaktivedanta archives may still have some of those. They're also available on the internet. So this is if those who are serious about studying Prabhupada's teachings, you may try to get those. It's called Collected Lectures on Bhagavad-gītā As It Is by the Bhaktivedanta archives, I believe, or Bhaktivedanta Book Trust, whatever. This is from volume 5, and it describes all the verses from chapter 6, verse 46 to chapter 7, verse 9. And there's numerous other volumes also. Bhakta Ulysses, you had a question.
Hare Krishna.
Go ahead, please.
Please accept my humble obeisances. As far as I know, for different varnas, there's different predominant modes of nature. So, for example, a Kshatriya has to be in the mode of passion so that to apply justice. I just learned that there was a bunch of tape recordings that were not published from Rameshwara. He's saying there's a whole hidden tapes from Varnashram talks and all this. So how realistic is it that everyone will be established in the mode of goodness? Or is it better to encourage work in their own nature?
Well, first of all, this is not directly related to this verse, but let me answer that question like this. Prabhupada's position is those who are devotees or try to become devotees, they should at least attempt to become situated in a mode of goodness. When Prabhupada was discussing the introduction of Varnashram, he didn't discuss specifically different people's varnas or like that. His first point was, a very easy point was, develop self-sufficient farms. When we were in a Gurukul in 1977, I had the opportunity to spend time with Srila Prabhupada every night in the month of May 1977. And he was giving many instructions about Gurukul and Varnashram College. And this point came up, well, how do we know which Varna? Prabhupada said, by observation, you will see. But those who are devotees, serious devotees, it will be easy to see. But there will be tendencies for people to be Vaishyas, some people to be Kshatriyas, some people to be Shudras. And even with young boys, by the time they were 13, 14, 15, we could see different tendencies manifest. So by observation, it is meant to be like that. So it is a matter of observation and also, but Prabhupada never gave instruction to go consult some astrology book to figure out people's birth chart or things like that. I don't mean to disappoint any practicing astrologer, but there's not Prabhupada's instruction. Prabhupada expected that every devotee who came to the movement to follow the principles, to chant Hare Krishna, to engage in devotional service, and to read Srimad Bhagavatam. And in this way, gradually, they would become purified. So for the time being, I'll leave the floor to other people, but that's all I can say for now. Abhiram Thakur, go ahead, please.
Hare Krishna, can you hear me now?
Yes, we can. Yes, we can.
All right, so there is a few remarks I want to mention. Just first of all about, thank you for making this point about hearing today, and this is really related to our verse that we are reading. And I just think that we are really minimizing this this power of hearing. That's why we are not really serious. But the way you described using the modern technologies, this is the way, I guess, as we are modern, so-called modern devotees should be doing that, because this is really what it is. When I offer my prasadam, so-called, I'm really in doubt if that was accepted, or I can't call it even prasadam, but you know, if I'm trying to concoct, okay, I'll do another kind of type of devotional service, that's questionable as well. But this hearing is really powerful, and this tool, like our ears, they are very, very like given us by God, and we should utilize it properly. So after many years trying to do some service, now I understand I'm really doing something when I'm hearing about Krishna. So and factually, it is first, like one of the first in devotional methods, which is 9 of them, as we know. So the hearing is very important. And if you allow me for another few seconds, just not so much related to our verse we are reading, but the Bhaktivedanta Dāsa, he just suggested me, there is a number of videos, nice videos from Dhamma-Ghosh, from Gargamuni, from Yaśodā-nandana he collected, and they are all from the YouTube channel, which is running by Bhakta Robin. As I see, he is present on this group. So I was gonna try if I can be in touch with this gentleman, Bhakta Robin, he named himself, about help me to understand how can I make Russian translations to these videos, because they're really valuable, and I believe you all watch this video. So, or maybe somebody who knows how to work with YouTube, maybe Venkat Prabhu, I know he's very advanced in technologies. If you can be in touch with me and help me to make that working, if it makes sense, just to make Russian subtitles on these videos.
Good.
Yeah, sure, Prabhu. We can
Do you
discuss
have
that.
a question, Prabhu? Do you have a question?
You are calling me?
I'm trying to understand if you have a question.
No, my question was if I can be in touch, if somebody can find me like by messenger or by WhatsApp, which is Bhakti Robin or Venkat Prabhu, and just help me with that idea to make Russian subtitles for these videos. That's my question.
Okay.
Good. Yeah, we'll make arrangements for that, Prabhu.
Sure.
Okay,
Thank
I
you.
wanted to make a comment on your little talk there about prashad. You were saying you didn't know if it was real prashadam or not. I thought that was quite poignant that you made that comment. I would say this, brother, if I could. There is a method for offering the prashadam, as Yaśodā has explained, and I've explained to others that Prabhupada gave us. A simple process. Whether you're on Sankirtan, traveling, or you're at your house, you would offer these simple prayers, the obeisances to the Guru, Namo Mahabharanaya, Namo Brahmanya Devaya, like that. You offer these prayers, simple. So as far as the validity of your prasadam, if you're just sincere, Prabhu, then Krishna will accept that if you follow this simple process. It's not that complicated. Just carry on like you're doing. Everything's fine. You should. We have to have faith that Krishna is within our heart. He can see. Remember, there is such a thing that people are not aware of, is Chaita Guru. That Krishna is also there as Guru within the heart. So the more sincere you are, each individual devotee, in practicing this, every day I offer food to my deities here. And I also feel, well, I'm not a very good pujari. But at the same time, as I continue to practice after year after year after year after year of trying to become better, then gradually you start to realize this is a motion of understanding from within that God is the provider of everything. And if we at least try to acknowledge, if we try to acknowledge that He is the provider of everything and pray sincerely with this simple process that Prabhupada has given us, then this food becomes prasadam, and we can make advancement in spiritual life by eating it. It's prophylactic and antiseptic. So like that, I hope that may give you some insight. Just carry on. You're fine. Don't worry.
Mother
Yeah.
Antavaya is back.
Please. Anandabaya, please. If
Yeah,
you've got
so
a question.
thank you, Prabhu. So I was listening to what you guys were talking about earlier, and it reminded me of something that we were reading in the teaching of Lord Chaitanya the other night. And I just wanted to quickly read this little part because it just ties it all together for me. It's on page 219, Why Study the Vedanta Sutra. And it says, unfortunately, some persons are not interested in giving patient hearing to the message of Srimad Bhagavatam. The process is simple, but the application is difficult. Unfortunate persons will find enough time to hear ordinary social, political, and all sorts of idle talks, but when they are invited to attend a meeting of the devotees assembled to hear Srimad Bhagavatam, the unfortunate creatures will either be reluctant to attend such a meeting, or they will indulge in hearing a portion that they are unfit to enter into. Professional readers of the Bhagavatam indulge in the confidential topics of the pastimes of the Supreme Lord, which seemingly appear to be sex literature. Srimad Bhagavatam is meant to be heard from the beginning, and the class of persons who are fit to assimilate it are also mentioned in the Srimad Bhagavatam 112. A bona fide audience for hearing Srimad Bhagavatam is generated after many pious deeds, but an intelligent person, by thoughtful discretion, can believe in the assurance of the great sage Vasudeva and give patient hearing to the message of Srimad Bhagavatam in order to realize directly the Supreme Personality of Godhead. That's it.
Very nice.
Well, actually,
Bhakti Robin had a question or remarks.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu, Dandavats, all glories to Srila Prabhupada. I just wanted to reply to the question. There's already a Russian translation created by ISKM Sundara Gopal Prabhu. They have a video on YouTube called Ritvik, a bona fide system, and it's available in all languages, Spanish, Russian, and so on.
Thank you for bringing that to our attention. Some other remarks was there? Bhakti Ulysses, you have some other point?
Hare Krishna. Yes, I'm trying to understand the purport that mentions about mode of goodness. So as far as I understand, Srila Prabhupada always encouraged self-sufficiency, sending most of the devotees to farm, rural living. So is this required for the mode of goodness, or that was just extra?
There was one conversation where Prabhupada was discussing with some senior or so-called senior disciples, where Prabhupada was saying, well, everybody should go to the farm. And one disciple would say, well, some of these people, they like to live in the cities. And Prabhupada said, well, if they're situated, if they're devotees, they will have no problem living on the farm. The difficulty that I see is that most people who join the movement have been raised in an urban environment in cities. Very few devotees have been raised in a rural environment where this growing of food is very prominent. Like in India, it is prominent, but in the Western countries, not so much. In India, it is very common to find the people that are very accustomed to live very austere in a mode of goodness. In the Western countries, just the environment, the setup of the civilization. So I can understand the point that, you know, some devotees might find it a little difficult. That's why Prabhupada says the most important thing is Shravana. If one submissively hears from the pure devotee, gradually one will understand. This is the point. If one hears from the pure devotee and practices Krishna consciousness according to the pure devotee Srila Prabhupada, everything will become clear. One of the reasons we have in other organizations things that are unclear, because people do not sufficiently hear from the pure devotee and manufacture different processes, different mantras, different rules, different kirtans, so many different things. This is the result of the mode of passion and mode of ignorance. If one is situated in a mode of goodness, firmly fixed with the principle that one should follow and listen to the pure devotee Srila Prabhupada, it will eliminate a lot of the problems. This is just a preliminary point. By the way, there is a set of books that were compiled in Australia by a devotee named Gopinath or someone like that. It's a fairly large, it's about 4 inches thick, with all of Prabhupada's quotes about Varnashram. I don't know if you have this, but I know that Damagos had that, and some devotees in Australia have it. I have one copy that was sent to me. It's every single conversation, every single purport, everywhere that Prabhupada discussed about Varnashram. So for those seriously interested in Varnashram topic, they should try to obtain this and discuss this. Just a humble suggestion. I hope that helps. Any other comments? So let me ask this question to the audience here. You know, all of you are hearing Prabhupada's instruction, Bhagavad-gītā, Srimad Bhagavatam. Why did Prabhupada in 1977, it's a double-pronged question. In January of 1977, Prabhupada said no more sannyas. He didn't want any more sannyas. In August of 1977, Prabhupada said that he wanted to complete the other 50% of his work by introducing Varnashram, which at that point in time he defined as self-sufficient farms. Why? Why did he do that? What do you think? Anybody has any answer? Ram Raghava? What do you think?
Not sure, Prabhu.
What is that, Ram Raghava?
He wasn't sure, Prabhu. I can make
He wasn't sure?
Yeah, I can make a comment on that.
Well, go ahead.
Yeah. Prabhupada was encouraging us to take up the renounced order as much as possible, whether you're a brahmachari, a grihasta, or a sannyas. Now, a sannyas vow is very serious. And it gives no allowance for fall down, none. In fact, we saw in the case of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu that when Junior Haridas had deviated from his renounced state of mind, he committed suicide because he had offended the Lord. Now, this was it's not a situation where we recommend people to, kill themselves if they break the rules. But the point that is made is that it's very serious to take this position as a renunciate and then deviate, as the case currently is appearing in front of us, Ram Raghava, of, for example, this Bhaktivedanta so-called Wexler, Mr. Wexler, Alan Wexler, where he has been in the position of a so-called renunciate for over 20 years, and it's been a fraud. It's been fraudulent. In other words, behind closed doors, he wasn't renounced. In the public eye, he was renounced. So this type of fake renunciation was also going on when Prabhupada was alive. It was pathetic. All of us are trying to follow the rules and regulations, take orders from the superior people in our society, and behind closed doors, they're breaking all the rules. Bhavananda, Satadanya, this person, that person, all breaking the rules of the sannyas order in a most derogatory ways. And Prabhupada became aware of this, so therefore he said, let's end. He wanted to end the sannyas to stop the disgrace that was going on within the society of people taking up this renounced order, and at the same time, behind closed doors, breaking all the rules and regulations. This hypocrisy had to stop. And that's really what is very important for us to understand. Ulysses, we cannot be hypocrites. It's very important. I know you've had association with some serious hypocrites. It's not a good thing to be very, very careful. So that's a response there, Yaśodā Prabhu, if you want to further respond to that.
Yeah, that's one very good point. But then the other point is, why did Prabhupada insist towards the end of his manifested presence in August of 1977? I also heard from Amsaduta one time that later on that year, he also told the same instruction to him and to one other senior devotee. In other words, this was a serious instruction. Personally, I think Prabhupada as a Trikalagnya, or knower of past, present, and future, and besides being a pure devotee, as a very expert mystic and powerful person, he could see what would happen in the future, how there would be so many disturbances in human society, and he was forewarning his disciples to try to get away from the cities, develop an ashram, to grow some crops, take care of cows, like that. And even though one may be a Brahmin, in times of emergency, even Brahmin and Kshatriyas can take up the position of Vaishyas and grow food, because this is very important, very important. Now, I know we have very few minutes left in this class, in this session, but if anybody has any other comments on that, please come forward.
Hare Krishna, glories to everybody. Prabhu, could you explain a little bit of what are the dangers of associating with...
Okay, I can't really hear you. Please speak slowly and clearly and loudly.
What are the dangers of associating with Gaudiya Math people or other groups?
Have you read Prabhupada's instruction in that regard?
Yes.
Yeah? So what do you think?
Well, I want your opinion.
What does Prabhupada say in the Chaitanya Charitamrita and the Adi Lila, chapter 12, about why the Gaudiya Math broke down?
Because they didn't follow instruction of Bhaktivedanta.
Yes, and many other reasons. Because they fought among themselves, there was dissension. Prabhupada attributed that to personal ambition. In one conversation, Prabhupada was discussing with I'm using the term so-called senior disciple, that during the manifest presence of Guru Maharaj or Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, they were thinking that after Guru Maharaj departs, I shall become Acharya, unquote. And unfortunately, we have experienced the same disease in our movement, this Acharya disease. Everybody wants. What is that disease? It's called PAD, not PADA, not the Prabhupada Anti-Defamation Association. No, PAD, P-A-D, Profit, Adoration, and Distinction. In the second canto of the Bhagavatam, in one purport, Prabhupada describes that these three things are a manifestation of subtle sex desire. There's the gross sex desire and the subtle sex desire of the ambition to become famous. It's called pratishta, love, puja, pratishta, profit, adoration, and distinction. This is a very insidious, dangerous disease. Very dangerous for somebody who's a devotee or aspiring to become a devotee. We have no business with these things. Unfortunately, for neophytes, or even sometimes so-called Madhyam devotees, they become afflicted and infected with these things. That's what happened to the Gaudiya Math, and that's what happened in 1977-78 with many of our contemporaries. But I respectfully suggest that you go to one of these websites and do a search with Gaudiya Math. And Prabhupada has given so many instructions why he did not want his disciples Why? He did not want his disciples to go take advice and instruction for them. As a matter of fact, one person on this call, Viśvakarmā, received a letter from Srila Prabhupada in 1975 that was an advice to all of his disciples. He did not want them to go to their temples, did not want them to read their books, did not want them to associate with them in any way. When Guru Kripa and myself were going to see the son of Bhaktivedanta Thakur in Birnagar, West Bengal, India in 1972, at one point Prabhupada said it's okay to see him. Then he said, don't go there anymore. So Prabhupada wrote to us and said, whatever is to be learned of the teachings of Bhaktivedanta Thakur can be understood from our books. Prabhupada then said, there is no need whatsoever for outside instruction. So for now, we'll leave it at that. And Gauramani Prabhu, you can make your comments. Go ahead, please. Gauramani, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. My obeisances to everyone. Prabhu, I would like to know if we come to read some Srila Prabhupada statement that is was posted by some deviated devotee. But I mean, is there something wrong in take that instruction from Srila Prabhupada only because it was posted by a deviated devotee?
Let me answer that.
Go ahead, Viśvakarmā. Go ahead, Viśvakarmā.
Prabhu, we're discussing here about association with the Gaudiya Math, for example.
No.
Let me answer the question. I'm giving you.
Was referring about here.
Yeah, I'm going to give it. Just wait.
Here.
Let me finish.
Yes.
Okay, let me finish. I'll parallel it to your question. Why don't we associate with them? Because it can contaminate us in terms of our relationship with our guru, Srila Prabhupada. You follow? Why? Because Prabhupada gave us all the information in his books only. Now, you're reading something from someone else who's quoting Prabhupada. Is that right?
No. The quotes that I'm talking about are with referment.
Yeah, but
I
who are
can
who are they coming from?
Said that things or not.
Yeah, who are they coming from? The quotes. Who are you saying is speaking this? Maybe I'm not understanding. Are you telling us you're listening to people that are quoting Prabhupada?
Yes, I'm saying that.
Like Bhavananda. For example, Bhavananda. He quotes Prabhupada, correct?
I'm not saying that they quote Prabhupada, but with referment, with the referment of some letter or in comment in the Srimad Bhagavatam or Bhagavad-gītā. So I can check if Prabhupada really said that things.
Okay, this is my point to you. Listen, we have banned these people from us. There's enough information from people that are not like that quote Prabhupada that we can focus on. If you listen to them, that's your choice. Personally, I'm not interested. What
Yes, but the point is, I'm not following them. But I'm taking only the statement that Prabhupada made that they are sharing with everyone.
Yeah, that's my point. I'm not interested. We are not interested in going and hearing them speak anything. They're banned from us, just like they banned us.
What I'm saying, not that I'm hearing them. I'm hearing Srila Prabhupada's statement, and I put the statement of Prabhupada in a context in my life, in base of time, circumstances. You know what I mean? I mean that
I gave you the answer. I gave you the answer. If you go to their classes, you're going to hear them speak. That's
No,
common.
no, Prabhu, no,
What
Prabhu.
can I say? Go ahead, please.
The opportunity is here for me to go, but I don't go because I prefer stay with you and Prabhupada's books. You know what I mean? Because I know that they are not following the Prabhupada instructions, so that make me disturbed. But at the same time, when they post something, for example, there are some devotee that they went to meet with the Gaudiya Math, some branch of the Gaudiya Math. No, but at the same time, they post Srila Prabhupada statements. No, that I mean, I'm not following them, and I'm not following the Gaudiya Math. I'm not meeting with them, but at the same time, I take what is good. I mean, if I read something that give me pleasure because come from Prabhupada, and there's the referment where I can find that Prabhupada said that thing. No.
I would like to add
Why
something.
not hear Prabhupada directly from Prabhupada himself?
Yes, but it's like here directly from Prabhupada himself, because they posted the statement of Prabhupada.
They claim to be posting Prabhupada, so then why don't they follow Prabhupada? Why did they promote Prabhupada? My point is, they're quoting Prabhupada. What is the idea behind that? Because many of these people have many different ideas. Because many of these things you see on the internet, people will quote Prabhupada when it's convenient for their personal agenda. We are quoting Prabhupada to follow Prabhupada. Are they quoting Prabhupada to divert people away from Prabhupada? If somebody knows Prabhupada's instruction about these particular groups, he will have no desire to hear from them. That I can guarantee you. You go refer to that letter from Srila Prabhupada on April 28, 1974 to Rupanuga, where Prabhupada explains the history of the Gaudiya Math. You read that letter. Prabhupada says, it is better. Actually, amongst my God brothers, no one is qualified to become Acharya. So it is better not to mix with my God brothers very intimately, because instead of inspiring our students and disciples, they may sometimes pollute them. This attempt was made previously by them, especially Madhav Maharaj and Tirtha Maharaj and Ban Maharaj, but some or other has saved the situation. This is going on. We shall be very careful about them and not mix with them. This is my instruction to you all.
Yes.
Is that clear?
Yes, yes.
It should be clear to anybody.
Perfectly clear. But my point is, I'm not following them. But
Okay.
I'm taking the Prabhupada statement because I find them really interesting for me. But I'm not at all following them.
Good. Very good. You have good understanding. Very good.
So, Gauramani,
Vijay Pandit, Prabhu, you have a comment. We're almost out of time, but go ahead with your comment,
okay.
Prabhu. Vijay Pandit.
Just for Gauramani. So then, if you want to read something bona fide, then why you don't read it directly from the bona fide disciples of Srila Prabhupada? Why we don't have to put our nose in things that these people they talk about Prabhupada because they have on the backside, on the backbone, something else. They are not proper. They're using Srila Prabhupada. They are using Srila Prabhupada. So if you want to listen the statements of Prabhupada, then why you don't listen it directly from the bona fide disciples? Is that a question?
Go ahead, Gauramani.
My answer is this. I'm hearing from the bona fide devotees because I'm here with you. It's not that I'm not here, the bona fide devotees. But at the same time, I don't think that Prabhupada's instructions can be polluted by someone that has deviated. That's my point.
Okay, thank you very
Only
much. Thank you.
Just take
The class is
Prabhu-
over. Hold on.
and
The class is over. Thank you. We're going over the
We
same
can discuss
thing.
this further next week.
It's
We can
going
discuss
over
this
and
further
over.
next week.
I'm going to say one final thing, Prabhu. They're banned from us. We have 3 rules. We do not allow ISKCON people, gurus, or their disciples with our group. We do not invite people from the Gaudiya Math with us, and we do not read the changed books. So let's just leave it at that. I wanted to carry on here, just end up the class. Thank you, by the way, Prabhu and Mayapur, by mentioning that we do have class on coming up tomorrow morning, Srimad Bhagavatam class at 10 a.m. So everybody, if you have time, please come to it and enjoy the reading. And then next Wednesday as well, the Chaitanya Charitamrita class, that will be at
Hare Krishna. Hare
8
Krishna
p.m.
to all.
Yeah, 8 p.m. Next Wednesday. And so progressively, we're moving forward with these classes. We're also recording them, and they'll be present in our YouTube channel and with the Prabhupada Disciples TV. So we can be able to also be a part of that. Anytime that you want to refer to these classes for association, and we'll be able to continue to expand the influence of the Prabhupada Disciples Association globally through this use of technology. So thank you again, everyone. If Madhu Ram Raghava could put on the chant to conclude the class, we'll enjoy some chanting for a few minutes and then pay our obeisances and look forward to our future meetings together online, discussing the mission of Srila Prabhupada and Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu.
Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna.
Vanchakalpa tarubhyascha kripa sindubhya evacha patitanam pavanibhyo Vaishnavibhyo namo namah. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. Thank you, Gauramani. Thank you, everybody, for participating. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Yaśodā.
Viśvakarmā Prabhu, Hare Krishna.